Well, 90 for 9, it's Angelina. I have the Bayzone Thuy with us. How are you?
Hello, Angelina. I'm so honored to be here.
I can't believe it's our first time meeting in person.
I know, but I feel like it was meant to happen at this time.
It was, but I actually saw you last year at Outside Lands.
Really?
And you did so good.
Thank you. I think that was my first festival. I was so nervous. I don't know if you remember me walking on stage.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
You did not look nervous at all.
No, I was.
You killed it.
I was like, oh, no one's going to show up. And then it was like the whole Bay was there. It was wild.
Because, Outside Lands is like the Bay Area's Coachella.
Yeah, it really is.
I love that festival, honestly,
Me
so
too.
much. Like, I really do love it. I've never been to Coachella, so I'm not going to compare it to Coachella.
Okay, well, maybe when I'm performing there, you'll be there.
Yes. Wait, are you going to perform there this year? Oh, no, it already passed. Sorry.
It already passed, but we are manifesting for the near future.
Yes.
It'll happen. And then you'll be
it's
there, and then
it'll
just
happen.
be, it'll be the right moment again.
Exactly, period.
Serendipity.
But I have been following you for a while, so let's take it back for people that don't know you. How did you get into music? Because I know you kind of had rethinking your career choices. I know you were in some other stuff before too. So How did it all start?
Oh my God, do you have time? I feel like this story is so long. But it's funny because I've been asked this a lot recently, and it's funny like hearing me speak about the story because I'm like, dang, I kind of came a long way. But my whole life, my parents were like, become a doctor, be a lawyer, do something that's like going to be financially stable and like you can take care of your parents, take care of your family members back in Vietnam. So I definitely felt like a lot of pressure to make my parents proud. So naturally, I was like, I'm going to go to school, do really good in school. I went to UC Santa Barbara. And when I first entered college, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. And then the first 2 years, I was like, this is kind of hard. And still in the back of my head, like, I've always loved to sing. Like when I was a little girl, ever since I can talk, like I would always be singing. And when I was 8 years old, I discovered Britney Spears. And that was like what changed my entire mindset. I feel like I would go in the back room after school and I would put her CD in a boombox, and that was all I listened to. And I like envisioned myself really just being her. But of course I was like, I got to go make my parents proud. But still throughout all of these like moments in life, I still knew that I was going to be a singer. I just didn't know how I was going to get there yet. So my journey
was like always in the back of your head, kind of like, I need to get back to this.
It was almost kind of like a little bit of delusion, like, and maybe I was a little crazy, but I just always knew.
It was always a dream.
It was always my dream, right, to do that. And so when I, after the first 2 years in college, I was like, I don't know if I could be a doctor. I don't really have the grades for it. Okay, I'll be a physician's assistant because it was like more flexible. You still get a little bragging rights. Your parents can still be proud of you. You can still make good money.
But I bet also with like the low grades, a lot of it is probably like it's not your passion. Like how are you going to be like so good at something you're not passionate about?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so when I graduated from college, I met Charlie, who's here with us today. And he was rapping and writing poetry ever since he was like super young. And so when I met him, again, it was like kind of those moments where like it really changes your entire journey in life.
This is after college?
After college, yeah. So when I met him, and he was already kind of like he was in the studio a lot. So we kind of started dating, and I was like, hey, can I come with you to the studio? Mm-hmm. And I just remember like, it wasn't like a crazy, amazing like studio with like crazy boards or anything like that. But I just remember knowing that like, oh, this is exciting. This is kind of what I want to like try to dabble in and see if it's like.
Because you haven't been like in music.
No,
so you're like, oh,
that's
this is recording me?
That's why I'm like this, like when people look back at my journey, they're like, it's almost a little bit crazy that this happened because it wasn't like I was taking voice lessons my whole life. I didn't take piano. I didn't do guitar lessons, anything like that.
Just like,
nor did I even songwrite. Like I wasn't doing that, but like in my mind, I knew I had the potential to do it if I just put like all my energy into it. So then when I met him, he was like, oh, like come to the studio, yada yada yada. So I was sitting there.
Did he know you can sing already?
He kind of had like I
should be harmonizing in the car.
I was like definitely singing a little bit here and there, but I don't think he fully knew
like what you were about.
What my like in my head what I was envisioning, right? Because I'm like, oh, this.
You're like all those Britney Spears tapes coming back to you. Exactly. You're like, no, I'm gonna get on the stage.
Exactly. So then we get into the studio, and I remember we made one song. It was like absolutely terrible. It was trash. It was so bad. Like I hope that it never gets leaked because it's just so bad. But I remember I was like, this is what I want to do. Then fast forward maybe a couple months or so, we make a song called "Hands on Me," which he primarily wrote, and I like helped a little bit on the songwriting, but I definitely was like trying to figure out where my role was in music. And I felt like he definitely helped like carve that for me, especially in like the beginning years. So fast forward, we make the song called Hands on Me. And at the time, 106.1 was doing something called Home Turf, right? Where you can like submit your song and the fans vote, your friends vote. I didn't have any fans, you know. I had like all my friends.
All
like,
your besties.
like,
You're like cousins.
Yes, exactly. I was like, please vote for me to like win. And I forgot who was the other competition, but like we won the competition.
Yes.
And I remember Big Von, he played it. And then Twitter, I don't want to say Twitter went crazy because it was really just my friends that were like, you know, tagging 106 and
but
Big
still,
Von just saying, oh my God, what was that song? Yada, yada, yada. So I remember hearing him on the radio say,
Von's the best.
Yeah, he's like, I've never actually met him, but he's just like such a like legend in the Bay Area.
After this, we'll go meet him. He might be
he's
here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Big Von. Huge fan.
Yeah,
You're the reason why I'm doing this. No,
Same.
but like
on the radio.
So then when he played it, he was like, oh, we got to run that back because you guys are showing it so much love. And that was like the first moment that I was like, I can do this. Like, I was like, because I always felt like I was always like good at the things that I put my energy into.
Right.
And this was like just that.
It got a little more real for you.
Yeah, it got real for me. So I was like, okay.
And did you also kind of get tripped out, like just how social media works? Like,
yes.
Oh man, if I know how to run this, I could, even if I'm not even as great as I want to be right now, like I know I have a machine in my hand.
Exactly. And I think that was like the beginning stages. But yeah, then I would, you know, from then on, I was like, you know, working in the medical field. I was working, like when I came back from college, I was working in the dental field. Then I moved to another dental office. Then I moved to dermatology.
You're
grinding.
And
then I moved to optometry, and then I was shadowing a physician's assistant at the time. And I was like making my way to become a PA, or at least to like apply.
You're still trying to really make that happen. Yeah.
Totally. But then I was like having the second double life where it was like I would clock out of work and then I go to the studio, and I was like submitting music on like SoundCloud, and SoundCloud was really big at the time.
Right.
And I remember like a couple of my songs, I wouldn't say they went viral, but they definitely like, you know, for a newer artist that like who knows from like Newark, California, like you know
these are more than just my best friends listening.
Exactly. I was like, this is like, I think we're kind of doing something here. And then it just, I feel like everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to, because I missed my application date by one day. And I remember the day after, I was sitting down, like, you know, putting my application. I was like, oh my God, the date.
A sign.
Yeah, it was a sign. But at the time I was like, my parents are going to kill me. Right. And, you know, all this hard work, I was shadowing the physicians because my days were crazy. I would literally wake up, go to work. After work, I would take the bus to Stanford, shadow a physician's assistant, go back home to Newark. Then I'd go to the studio. Oof. Like, it was just like a grind. Like for as long as I can remember, I feel like my whole musical journey has always like been like grinding, even after like my 9 to 5, right? And I feel like it all is starting to kind of pay off, which is like is such a dream. But you know, I thought it was the end of the world.
You don't realize it until you're like at a certain spot. You look back and you're like, oh, dang, I did all that.
Totally, yeah. And so when I missed that application date, a room had also opened up in Los Angeles. So I looked at my friends and I was like, let's do it. And I tell this story all the time because I hope that it inspires somebody, because I literally had $2,000 in my savings account. I didn't have anything lined up job-wise in Los Angeles. But this, as corny as it sounds, like I just had a dream, and I just knew that if I just quit the medical field and put like 120% into music, I knew I can make it happen.
You had to bet on yourself. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like once I took those risks, that big risk to get out of something that was comfortable for me and do something that was totally, I didn't even understand the music industry. Even to this day, I'm like, I still don't understand it. I feel like we're still figuring things out. But like my whole thing with moving to Los Angeles was like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to just try different things and see what works.
And that'll push you. It's like, once I'm here, it's like,
oh my
okay.
God. And then also just being with my friends in a different city was like the grounding energy that I needed. And I felt like we all kind of just like came up together, which has been really, really cool.
I was going to say, was all your friends and like your team already creatives too at the time?
So my manager came on about 2 years ago, but it was me, Cook, who's my DJ, Charlie, who's my co-writer, and then my friend YC, who was rapping at the time. And we all moved out together. And then we all kind of just like had this dream, and we're so excited. I almost like missed those times because we lived in a house with like 12 people, and it was like, what are we doing? But at the same time, it really shaped us, and I think like made us stronger and like stick together through it all. And now like me, Charlie, and Cook live together. We travel together. We work together.
I love it.
And like I feel like my whole entire team is like composed of like friends and family. And even my manager, comes from the same background as me. She's from the Bay. You know, she's a woman. She's
so
Vietnamese.
dope. Yeah.
And I just feel like it's just a huge family, you know?
And I love that all your people are from where you're from.
Yeah.
You know, so that's going to keep you grounded forever.
For sure. I mean, the Bay Area is just like, every time I meet anybody in LA that's from the Bay, like we just instantly click because I feel like we get it.
Very people are different. Every time I travel, they're just like, oh, like you're so, I'm like, no, there's like 30 of me, like, or like a million of me back in the Bay Area. Like people just like don't know. Bay Area people are
because like I feel like no matter where anybody is in their life, like they're so grounded, you know, like everybody I meet from the Bay is always just like cool.
Like we all come from the same place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We all understand like the fact that like we let something go or we sacrifice something for like a bigger purpose, which I feel like is super commendable and like makes me want to be friends with people like this because it's like-minded people need to stick together. So that's kind of I mean, long story short, that is like my journey from moving like from the medical field.
Right. And deciding to go full music with it.
Full music. And
what was your parents' response at first?
Well, I remember I put in my 2 weeks and I was like, okay, I got to tell my parents I'm moving. I told my mom first because she's a little bit easier.
Mom's always first. Yeah.
I don't even think I ever even told my dad because I was like,
Mom, you told Dad.
I was like, exactly. I was like, she's gonna tell him, and then we're just gonna like not talk about it.
Right.
But I remember I was outside in the backyard with my mom, and I was like waiting for the right moment, right? Because the whole day I was like on edge, super anxiety.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, Mom, I have something to tell you, and she's like, you're pregnant? I was like, no, I know that's what you want, but no.
Right. I guess.
And I was like, I'm gonna move to LA and become a singer. She's like, oh, Condila Casi, like that basically like, oh, you're gonna become a singer? Like, cool. Like,
oh, she was supportive. She was,
but like I don't think she fully understood, and I don't think my dad even fully understood because I think they like still thought it was a hobby, and I was like maybe moving to Los Angeles.
She's like, I'm gonna pray for you tonight, but you go, girl.
To like go back to grad school or do something, right? Like I think in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, like this is fun, this is her hobby, whatever, but she's still gonna pursue the medical field. And it wasn't until like my dad, he came to visit me in Los Angeles one time and we're sitting down for dinner and I'm like, oh, I can already feel the energy. My dad's like a lecturer. Like he'll, especially, but he sat me down and he was like, so when are you going back to school, right? And I was like, damn, okay, he doesn't like fully understand the vision yet, which is fine. Like I get it. He comes from, he comes from Vietnam where he hasn't never seen anyone do this. And even for myself, there's been times where I'm like, I should just go back to the medical fields because I haven't never seen anybody like me do this. So,
and it's also like the belief that you have in yourself in that moment. You're like, I know I'm going to figure it out and I can't wait to show you. But like to everyone almost, it is a process. Like you can't expect anyone unless they believe in you like how you believe in yourself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so I remember I was on NBC News in the Bay Area because my parents don't care about streams. They don't care about YouTube and all of this, right? They care about bragging rights. How can they brag about me to their relatives, right? So I get on NBC News and that's like the Bay Area. My parents watch the news
24/7. My parents do too. I'm like, watch something else.
Right. They saw me on the news and it was like an instant shift in their energy. They were like, oh, my daughter. She's famous. Really and I'm like, no, I'm not, but cool. Like if that's what you want to think, cool. And then I feel like ever since then, it's just been obviously like so many things that have like added up to where we are today. But like that was kind of the first moment that my parents were like, oh, like
they're on
you're
board.
Actually doing this, So now I think they're a little bit too proud of me and they like want to be at everything.
Yes,
and it's cool.
I love it.
But at the same time, I'm like,
chill.
It's like bringing your parents to work, right? Like every single time. And you got to make sure you take care of them. And I'm such a family person that I'm like, okay, I can't, I got to be with my parents and make sure they're taken care of. But it's been great to like have their support though, because I think if I didn't, it would be a lot harder, and especially Christmas.
Right.
Thanksgiving.
Right.
And the judgmental eyes. And now I come home and it's like all love and it's always been love, but you know what I mean? It's more
now
so
they're they're proud of you.
They're proud of me and like it's cool to be able to make them proud in like a different way because I always thought like, oh, I got to be a doctor to make them proud or I got to do this to
I feel like as
proud.
daughters, like that's our main goal.
And I'm the first daughter too.
Same, me
so
too.
it was,
yeah.
See, so you understand, especially come from immigrant parents, there's a lot of pressure on us to be perfect,
right?
To put your dreams aside, you know what I mean? To kind of like for the greater good. And I was willing to do that, right? But then at a certain point, you're like, what's going to really make me happy? Like, I don't want to leave this earth and look back at my life and be like, I'm not happy at all. Or like, I'm not proud of what I did. And it was a hard decision to make, to like not make my parents proud for a little bit.
Right.
But now I'm happy that like.
But it's that knowing that you are going to make it work.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was always in your back of your head.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to figure it out once I put my all into it.
Totally.
It's just getting to that
point. And I feel like
point.
that first daughter energy is different. Like, we are passionate, strong women who are like, I'm going to figure it regardless, right? Like, I don't care if you don't
it's
believe
almost
in me.
Scary. I'm so serious. Like, I feel like if I say I'm going to do something, like, I know I'm going to do it. Like, I need to be careful with what I say I'm going to do.
No, I tell people this all the time. I feel like I have these crazy manifestation skills.
Right.
Like, I'll think about like, oh, like I want to be friends with this person, or I feel like we'd be good friends. All of a sudden,
I'm the same. I'm like, I need to be careful how I think, because it's going to happen if I say it.
No, but that's why it's like, when I feel like I'm in a negative state, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not like in a good mood today, but like, I know that it's temporary. Right. But like, it's very important not to sit in that negativity for too long, because our minds are so strong that it can manifest. You
don't know where you'll go. Yeah.
Negative.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I love it.
That's been the journey so far.
And it's just only been up from here. I feel like you're everywhere now. I do want to talk about your EP, Girls Like Me Don't Cry.
Yes.
Because before, when I was introduced to your music, very fun vibes. Like, I love, like, In My Bag was an anthem. The Kardashians are posting it. Tia, like,
crazy.
Was that insane for you to see?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like grew up watching like Tia and Tamara, sister.
Yes.
I remember that was like a moment for me. I was like, oh my God, why is she using my song? What's in her bag? I'm like, I'm tuning in because I love them. So for them,
dope.
It's just like every single time that it happens, I always get surprised. I'm always surprised. I'm like, what is life? You know?
I just really like my song. Yeah.
I have those moments like a lot, actually.
But what I was gonna say is, I feel like with this EP, we got like a more like raw version of you. I feel like you broke out of your shell a little bit. There's definitely like fun songs on there. Tell me the process of that, because I know you said you were kind of newer to songwriting as well. So the whole process with the EP.
Honestly, like my whole like musical journey, I was like, I'm gonna be the best songwriter I can be, right? Like that was something that I made very important, because I don't play an instrument. So I was like, I don't want to just be, and it's okay to be that artist too, right? But for me personally, I want to be an artist that tells my story. And so definitely from the jump, I was like practicing my songwriting. And, you know, even I Hope You See This, I was like when I co-write with me and Charlie, like that's who we write songs with. And I also have my friend Johnny, who co-writes on a couple songs with us, but primarily it's me and Charlie. So I feel like we have really good rapport with each other, because he's really the first person that like saw this develop from the beginning, right? And he understands my journey, he understands the things that I've been through. But I feel like the best songwriting, the best songs come from like raw and true experiences. And so
some people can relate to. I feel like you have a lot of relatable joints on there. Yeah.
One, it's like there's a lot of things that I feel like in my past I might have not already closed up. So it's kind of a way for me to kind of talk about that and close it up and move on to the next chapter. But with Girls Like Me Don't Cry, like it was definitely more like confidence, right? Like I was like coming into my womanhood, coming into a relationship that like is really, really healthy. And I wanted to talk about that feeling of like, you know, that first song called Obsessed. It's like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm becoming obsessed with you. Then it's like songs like Dumb Luck, like, is this dumb luck that I found somebody like you? Or like just being very vulnerable and talking about love, because I feel like we need more of that, you know, like as much as I could be a little toxic and I talk about that, like definitely I Hope You See This was a little bit like, you know, heartbreak and that type of vibe. But for this one, I wanted to just like have it be more uplifting and more fun. And even when like the song Girls Like Me Don't Cry, the topic is definitely, it's sad girl energy, but the production is fun. It's like, you can
that's
dance
the crazy
to
thing
it.
about music.
Yeah.
Like for you, it could be something, even a sad song that has like super sad lyrics that you can tell you're going through it, and then you put a different beat on it. Like to someone else, it could be something totally different. Like this is my song, I get ready to.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. But that song too, like the verse is like, lost in the city, both eyes wide. I ran right through all my options. I'm like, can't seem to keep both eyes dried because I only got tissues in my pockets, you know? So it was like really talking about my journey to Los Angeles and just about the whole fact that like, you know, even though I am in a good place relationship wise and on all that, like it doesn't mean that like you don't feel too. Like you have those low days where you're like, you can still cry. And girls like us, meaning that girls who are, radio hosts or MMA fighters or social media influencers or musicians, like I feel like a lot of times on social media we have to like put on this face that we're perfect, we're good, but that's not necessarily true. I think a lot of women like just go through things sometimes and we cry, but I wanted it to be kind of like an empowering anthem for the women out there that just cry, and like we can wipe them off after crying our eyes out and then go on to do what we need to do.
It's almost like you have to do that to be healthy. Like
totally. And I think like I say this all the time at my shows. I'm like, the strongest people cry.
Right.
Like I'm on the verge of tears, in the next couple days. I can feel it coming. But I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, I just need to let it go.
Right.
Address it, welcome it, and then move on with my life.
Yes, I tell my friends all the time, like if they're going through a breakup, I'm like, you need to be sad.
Let
like
it
we're
out.
not gonna pretend we're not sad.
Let it out.
Because it's gonna come back bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's honestly the stronger people like cry, I feel like, because then you like hold in so much and you just gotta let it out. But yeah, this whole project was like super personal to me. I mean, like
you can tell you evolved so much like on this one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's that. I hope that's what came across, because the first project, I got like the beat sent to me, then I wrote it, and then I went into the studio to record it. This one, I was there from start to finish. Like I was there when the beat was just the first pluck on the guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like me going in there doing a top line, then coming out, writing with Charlie, then recording it, then even sitting in through the mixing, like
it's like really your baby.
Very, very hands-on with the entire project. So I feel like I really gave my entire energy into it, and I think that's why it was so personal. But it was fun too. Like, but who's to say the next one isn't gonna be like sad? Like it's just, what do I have to say?
Feeling. Yeah.
What do I have, like? Because to be honest with you, after this project, I was like, okay, like what else do I have to say? But like life just keeps giving. Sometimes,
right, it's gonna keep lifing. Yeah, you're gonna have more stuff to talk about.
For sure. Yeah.
No, I love this one, and I feel like I love that you're getting more into your songwriting bag. And it's such a process too when you're getting new. I was talking to SZA, and I'm thinking like her pen is crazy, and she was just telling me how like, I'm not a traditional writer and I actually need to be better, and like was like so hard on herself about all these songs. Like this actually wasn't perfect, and like
she's incredible. But
I know she's so incredible. But I guess like in a songwriter's mind though, like I didn't even think of that, like someone being a traditional writer or not a non-traditional writer. Like I didn't even think there was like different types of structures. I thought you just go in there and spill your heart out,
And that is 90% of it.
Right.
But it's like, that's why you work with like other people who might help you structure things out better, right? Like, but I feel like the reason why her music is so good is because it's her.
It's so raw.
Like, she puts her experiences into it. And I feel like that's why people relate to it. And that's the music I grew up on, right? Like I grew up on like 90s R&B, where I was like in junior high thinking I was in a relationship and I just got broken up with when I've never been in a relationship. Like I was definitely, and I feel like that's maybe why some of my music is influenced by it. Like I'm not trying to, but it just seeps in naturally.
Yeah.
Because I love making music that feels like I want to feel something. And I want to cry.
We all need that.
And I want,
like you said, like there's that era of like just being toxic, but we need the vulnerability.
We
like,
do.
It needs to be here.
For sure.
No, I love it. And it is AAPI Heritage Month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does it feel for you? Even being from Newark. I love that I didn't know you're from Newark. I knew you're from the East Bay. Mm-hmm. I was trying to figure out where it was. What does that mean to you, like holding this space as an R&B singer, being you're Vietnamese, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being Vietnamese, like what does that mean to you?
It's so important. I mean, like I say this a lot too, but like the whole story is like, being from the Bay, we're so lucky to be in a place that is super accepting,
right?
Like a melting pot of diversities and people in all walks of life. And, I've never felt different being from the Bay. I've always felt accepted for who I am. And it wasn't really until I went to college where I was like, oh,
we're so privileged.
It's a little different. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I never really thought of it that way. I was just like releasing music and just being myself. But as I got further into my career, I definitely realized how important like representation was, and how what I'm doing is like so important for people to just feel like they have somebody to look up to. And I get a lot of messages from a lot of Vietnamese boys and girls that tell me like, you're so inspiring. Thank you for doing what you do. Like you're the reason why I did so-and-so or whatever. And I'm like, that's so cool, because I wish I had that growing up.
Right.
Like, had I had that growing up, maybe I would have started sooner. Maybe I would have felt like, oh, I want to go to a music school to like perfect this, or I want to start songwriting more. or just like have a space where I can like be a little more creative. And that was looked up upon, not down upon, I guess. And I just think it's super, super important to have that in mainstream media, because we can do this. Like, just because we grew up knowing one thing doesn't mean that that's what we should do if that's not what we want to do.
Right. And you almost don't realize it until you're there. Like, I feel like not until I was older I realized like how like white things are.
Yeah, because you're just doing what you do. You're doing what you love.
And you're already brainwashed to see it. Like, oh yeah, I'm just used to seeing all these white characters on TV. Or like, you know, you don't realize it until later, until it's in your face. And you're like, oh, like it's crazy every time, first, you know, Asian this, first Mexican this, like still happening.
Still happening.
And I'm like, we're in 2023. That's so crazy to me.
It is.
It's like, oh, we've come a long way, but it's like we haven't. We still have a long way to go.
Yeah. But hopefully, like, I'm just honored to even be like somebody that's a part of that like blueprint that people can kind of look to. Yes. And obviously everyone has their own different journeys, but I think it does make it easier, because even for myself, sometimes I'm like, God, did I start too late? Or, you know, I didn't go to music school to learn music theory and all of this. And like, I'll read certain articles about artists that I look up to, and they're like, their journey wasn't that. So it makes you feel more inspired, and it makes you feel like you can do it too, because they didn't do that traditional way.
Right.
So I think it's really important to see people that like have even just look like you doing this.
You're like, oh, I could do it. Like,
yeah. And I think that like, it's just important.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so proud of you. And now you're on tour with LMA. That's so crazy. You just finished your tour too, though, right?
I just finished my own headline tour.
Oh my goodness. She's everywhere. Sold out. She's everywhere.
And I literally had a week off, and then I went on Ella's tour, and it's been super, like, it's been such a change.
I was gonna say, how much did your tour personally like prepare you?
It did. It totally did, because we were doing like, you know, 1.5-hour sets, and now we're doing 30-minute sets, so we can kind of hone in on our set a little bit more and really like find pockets of moments to like interact with the fans. So it's been really cool to like challenge myself in that way too. But I'm so happy that I did this tour. Not only is she so sweet and such a like pleasure to be around, and her whole team, because you know, like, you never know,
right?
And
it's a little scary. You're like,
it's a little scary, right? But like, she's so nice, and so that made it like, okay, I'm glad that I made that decision, because I'm all about vibes. Like, I'm all about like surrounding myself with people who are good vibes. So she's super sweet. And also, number 2, it was like such a growing opportunity for me too, like to surround myself with her type of crowds, and her like the crowds that she has, just the amount of people is like, you know, every night right before I get on stage, I'm like, I'm so nervous, right? Like, I'm always like, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen. You still get super nervous? Yeah, I always get super nervous, but then once I hit that stage, I'm like, then I'm fine.
It's like
then I like black out,
then
it's fine. But it's like, it's been, I know I'm gonna grow so much as a musician and an entertainer just from like getting outside of my little comfortable box, you know what I mean? Because like, coming from a headline tour where like everybody that was there was coming to see you,
right? You almost gotta like prove yourself. Like, well, it's like a new crowd, a new fan that you have to win.
But it's also so much fun. Yeah. Because I love it. I love like seeing their faces light up when they're like, oh, okay, I love this song. Or like, you see people searching your name or whatever. Then you're like, oh, this was like such a great thing that this can't be any better. It's like actually being in front of people in real life, right? Versus doing it online. And that's great too. But you get to like actually touch people in real life. We are releasing a deluxe project of Girls Like Me Don't Cry. Yeah. Has a couple new songs on there, one featuring Rex Life Raj, which I'm really excited about. And he killed it. He did his verse in like 30 minutes, sent it back, everything. I was like, this guy is the GOAT, because it actually was good too. It wasn't just like he sent me anything.
Like, he really like,
but I knew he was going to come. Like, he was going to.
He doesn't put out trash.
No.
Like, he cares about his music.
Definitely. So I had this one song that I had already had like, you know, written and done like 1.5 years ago. And I knew when I recorded, I was like, I knew I wanted him on it, but it was just like the right timing. And now we're putting it on the deluxe. So I texted him while on the road. I'm literally in the car still. Yeah. And he texts me it back. And I'm like, oh my God, it was so fire. It made me love the song even more. So now I'm like even more excited for the deluxe project.
Do we have a release date for that?
Yeah, it's gonna be May 24th or something like that. End of May, something like that. May,
it's coming up. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up. So we have that in the meantime.
Yes.
And it's like new songs too. It's not just like,
Right, like little remixes or whatever. Yeah.
So we got new songs on there for the fans to like have something in the meantime, and then hopefully we can release some singles along the way in the end of the year too to kind of keep.
So after the tour, you're getting like full studio mode,
full
hibernate,
studio mode.
creative. Yeah.
I feel like that's like where my energy is gonna be at the next months or couple months or so. But
I'm so excited for you. I did want to ask, do you write for other people, or would you be down to do that?
I would be down to, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the moment that I'm like, oh, I am kind of a songwriter. Like, because I write my own experiences, but maybe there's another artist out there that's like, yo, I'm going through the same thing. Can you help me write this? Yada, yada,
because I know how you were saying, like, you didn't want to just be a singer, but like that's the other plus. Like,
totally
writing for other people, that's like a whole nother bag. Yeah.
I would love to. I would actually love to. I mean, I think it would be really cool to like hear another singer.
Is there anyone like specifically you would think you would really like to write for?
I mean, Kehlani needs no help at all, but like I would love to just give whatever type of energy that she is willing to accept.
Yeah.
But I just love Kehlani so much. I think she's so talented. She's also from the Bay, so it's
right.
Like,
two Bay girls.
She's like
her voice is next level.
Next
level.
Her
vocals are
crazy.
crazy.
I watched her perform at Radio City Hall. I think that's what it's called in New York City. She
tore down.
Sold that out.
Her live is crazy. Like even when she was out here in Oakland, I was like
mesmerized.
Right.
She's an amazing.
She's a performer for real.
She's a performer. Her dancing,
it.
her singing, her eye contact, everything. Like she's such
her little interactions with the crowd.
Yeah,
like she's got it down.
Inspirational person, and I feel like she's in such a good place with her life too, and just like such, you know what I mean? Like certain people you see online, you can just feel that positive energy.
Right.
That's what I get.
You can
with
tell
her.
she got there. It took her a long time, but you can tell she's like thriving.
Yeah, totally. So that's somebody that I would love to.
Yes. Well, we're gonna manifest that too.
Yeah, I would. Let's manifest it.
More songwriting. We got the deluxe drop in.
Yes.
You got the show tonight.
Yes.
Where's it going to be at the Warfield?
Legendary place.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. The Fox Theater was also legendary. It was great venue. And just being back in the Bay is
I'll say, do you get more butterflies like coming back home, getting to perform?
I tell people this all the time because sometimes I almost love being like someone who no one knows because I love like almost, I
guess something to prove.
Yeah. Yeah, for people who don't know, I used to wrestle back in high school and I've always loved to be the underdog.
I love that's so cool.
I loved when people like, yeah, I just feel like I thrive sometimes when
you couldn't wait to take someone down. They thought like
when no one knows who I am. Like I just love it. I'm like, oh, let's show you guys, let's give you guys a good show. So hopefully you guys can check out the music.
Did you wrestle
later.
the whole time?
Yeah, in high school I was a 2-time NCS champion and 6 in the state.
Stop.
I was really good. My first match though was with a guy in junior high and he folded me like a taco. And I remember I was like, I should just give up here. I remember running off the mat crying and I was like, nope, I'm gonna keep going.
Wait, I love this fun fact.
Yeah,
that is so dope.
A lot of people don't know that, but I feel like that's kind of why I have a lot of mental toughness too, and just like my mind is kind of strong.
Mindset, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just like I don't ever give up, and I'm just
I
like
love that.
I got this if I put my mind to it. Even though I'm running on fumes right now, but like, what were we even talking about?
Just what's next for you and everything going down.
The Warfield.
The Warfield. Yeah, we got the show tonight.
How did we get into wrestling? I have no idea what I was. Sometimes when I'm tired, I just go on tangents.
Yeah, it's okay. I do too.
And I felt like I was doing really good this interview, and now I'm just like unhinged.
No, I'm so glad I got that out of you, though. I love that you used to be a wrestler.
Yeah. So, anyways,
we got the Warfield tonight.
Warfield
She's
tonight.
back home.
Oh yes, the Bay Area. The energy's different. So. I do get nervous being back in the Bay where like I know that a lot of my fans will show up. I'm like, oh God, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta give you
a lot
guys
of like your day ones too. Like, okay, just look at it. What's she doing now? Yeah.
But I will tell you, like, especially being a little more tired, being at home when they give me that energy, it like wakes me up. I'm like, oh, this is like what I needed. And they show me so much love.
Yeah.
And especially the Asian community, they definitely like show up for me.
You're like the superstar here for sure.
No,
so
I love
it's like
them so much,
this
and
is your show.
They're the best. They are the best, and they're definitely giving me the energy I needed. So I'm excited to be back in the Bay. One more night. 2 nights in a row in the Bay.
They're going to show up big. I'm so excited for you. You just keep growing and growing. I know it's only up from here.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to see what's going on next. Thanks so much for
I
stopping
got
by.
to be interviewed by you, the legend.
No.
So thank you so much for having me and the team just invade your space for a little bit.
I love it. Okay. Anytime. You guys come through anytime. Door's always open.
Don't say that.
I'm serious. Give me a call.